Okie dokie. We're ready. I just had some dinner. It was not very impressive. Chocolate, we just finished Halloween, so it was basically chocolate bars and some leftover taco meat. So I don't know, that's not doing much for me right now. I guess there's milk, so we got some dairy in the milk chocolate. And we've got, what have we got? We've got meat covered, so I guess I need a Triscuit and a raisin, and I've got maybe a potato chip. I got my food groups covered, but not good today. Just one of those days. A lot of running, and we're not organized. So I just was farting around with that. Let's just have a look. We have another Sevam1 question. So we're still cooking with gas here, which is great. So we had the first one that Terry asked, and then we had Jimmy's question about the finger pressures. That's a complicated one. That's one that being on the range and monkeying with all of that would go a long way to teaching people a lot about that. That's almost one of those don't try this one at home kids type of discussions. But finger pressures are, your fingers, that's the shot maker's weapon, right? That's the magic that comes once you've got the first part of it licked and you've got the major moves with the body down. Then you get into a whole different world. Not everybody gets there, and not everybody has to either. You can get around and enjoy golf, vanilla, one-trick pony, one shot. Bobby Locke did it, hit a hook his whole career, and lots of other golfers have done it too. Guys have done it with fading the ball all day long too. And Jimmy DeMerit, I don't think he ever hit a hook in his life. I know he could, but he liked to fade it. And figure out what you need for yourself. So let's look at our next question here while I freeze my patootie off. My nose is even running, it's so cold. Here we go.
Sevam1, I've got a question for you. I hope you can hear me. It's really windy out. Texas in the fall, I was going to see if I could get your opinion on when the wrists should break in the backswing. Because there's definitely a couple of schools that thought about it. I know that Faldo, Mac O'Grady, Knudsen, for example, they advocate or seem to swing in a way where their wrists break pretty early. Knudsen especially, I was just watching him the other day, and his wrists come off the ball pretty quickly, and by the time he gets to here, he's in a 90-degree angle, and then he just finishes his turn and goes through the ball. Whereas like Hogan or Nicklaus or other guys like that, they use the weight of the club to set it at the top of the backswing. So when they're here, the club's still pointing straight behind them, and then as they get to the top, it sets at the top. So I was just wondering what method you advocate. Not necessarily that there's a right answer for it, but I was just going to get your take on it.
Okay. All right, that's a good question, and it's a question I have an opinion on, a very strong opinion on. Okay, I don't know about Knudsen actually having, you may observe an angle starting to form early with Knudsen. If that's the case, that is a matter of two things, in my opinion. That is him wanting to keep the golf club low, and so the golf club is being kept low. That means that Knudsen had a lot of early right arm folding. And Knudsen also started with the hands even with the ball, kind of like Hogan did. And the first move really was I would just call it lining the shaft up with the lead arm. So you'll see him put that shaft in line with the lead arm. Maybe Terry can find some video of George Knudsen with this sort of first. He's down there, and then the first thing is to do this. That to do this and align it is not the same as to be doing this. Now, if you look at Nick Faldo, you're talking about the idea of setting the angle, setting the club early. I'm completely against it. I think it's not the way to go, and the reason is this is sort of David Ledbetter had this idea of this wonderful feeling where you would cock the wrists, and that club head would always all of a sudden feel light, like it was not there, like it disappeared. And it was this wonderful, miraculous feeling of weightlessness in the club head. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. I don't want to have to find the golf club again. I don't want that. I want the golf club to be constantly pulling. I'm moving it back. I can feel it at the end of the stick. There's a weight at the end of the stick, and I never want to lose touch in my hands with the weight and the end of the stick. Now, you can do it. You can set the angle. But now all of a sudden, you have to train yourself to go into a specific spot, and then you have to transition and find the weight again. It has to return. If it doesn't return, you're not going to be able to consistently deliver the golf club the same way. This is I'm almost uncomfortable talking about it because a lot of very, very talented, knowledgeable teachers have talked about it, and it's just something that I just disagree with. So what I want is I want to get the club moving so I can feel it. And then I want to feel it in my left hand in particular. I want to feel it in my thumb. I want to know that it's there. I want to know that I'm pressuring it and that it's pulling me and I'm pulling it and we're together in what we're doing. And when I change direction, I want to feel it more. But I don't want to ever lose it. And the thing is, if I set my wrists up and I set it the wrong way, I guess with great training, you can set it on precisely the right angle, but the problem is the angle's got to be slightly different for every single club in your bag, because every single club in your bag has a different lie angle. So you're going to have to set it on a certain way for this. You're going to have to set it like this if you're with a wedge. You're going to have to set it like that if you're with the driver, and you're going to have to figure out where to send it, and that's a manipulation. That's everything you do, and this is, I'll say this, everything you do in golf, you do in the context of the thing in your hands, in the context of the implement. So you are reacting to this, and if you take this and let it disappear, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's all I have to say about it, really. That's not to take away from the greatness of Nick Faldo and what he did, but I'm just saying that it is not the easiest way, and I don't think it's the most efficient way. It's a way that it feels nice. I just don't think it gets the job done the way it needs to do. And in fact, even if I swing, I'm more of a swing the handle guy and swing the fulcrum point guy, which is right here. We talked about that in the Jimmy Nissen video. Then I am swing the club head, but which is Ernest Jones type stuff. But whether I'm swinging the handle or whatever I'm doing, it doesn't matter. What I want to do is make sure that I'm never losing the pull at the end of the stick. There's a weight at the end of the stick, and I never want to lose that. That's got to always be in the equation. I've always got to feel it. I've always got to know where it is. And if I start manipulating and setting angles, then I'm losing it. The part about Knudsen, if it looks like he's trying to set the angle early, that's what it is. It just looks like it. I don't think his intent is for that angle to set early. As soon as the right arm starts to fold, then the wrists are going to move. So if you fold the right arm early, you're going to see an early reaction in the club head. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily trying to set the wrists. It just means that that's the progression. If you're and final thing is, the wrists are going to have to break. That golf club is going to have to move up earlier if you're less flexible, because you're maxing out where you're going with the body and everything else. Once that happens, the arms start to lift, and when the arms lift and the right arm folds, that club head is going to move in that direction. You can't stop it unless you're really just literally trying to not allow your wrists to move at all. And so sometimes what you're seeing is golf swings that are just not going to have, they maybe don't have the deep turn, and they don't have the same width as you get if you let that golf club's, the weight of it be the thing that, and its own momentum, get it moving. It's going to want to go somewhere. And it's going to go somewhere natural if you move it with your turn. If you move it with your hands, it's not necessarily going to contract the way it needs to. It can track a lot of ways with your hands. It can, if you move it with your turn, it's going to move on a more consistent basis. That's what I believe. That's what I've experienced. And the other way, I just would never ever advocate. So, that's it. Long answer to a short question, but hopefully that'll help some people. Anyway, ask71.com and secretinthedirt.com. Ask your questions, post them at YouTube, then bring them into the Secret in the Dirt and the Ask 71 group in there, and I will answer where I can. See ya. Cool. I wonder if Bob and Doug McKenzie own the rights to that sound.